Empower 11, the best of its kind in a highly transformative time. Are you empowered? Ready to turn your life up to 11? Awaken the life of who you are on the inside to match the life you were meant to live on the outside. Empower 11. Now is your time.
Empower 11 Radio. Greetings and welcome to Empower 11 Radio. Today is October 10th, 2012, and we are coming to you live from Santa Barbara County. For more information about Empower 11, you can check out empower11.com. That's empower, the number 11.com. And I am Jack Voorhees, and I am here today with the beautiful and talented Ann Ribley.
Hello, my co-host Jack Voorhees. Excited to be doing this show with you. You're such a awesome collaborative partner, and you're pretty dynamic.
So something kind of special was happening today. Something kind of unusual for here in Santa Barbara County, Michigan. Wow, that would be unusual. California. We are experiencing a phenomenon. There is actually water falling from the sky.
It's called rain. It's exciting. This is our second rain, but this looked real. That's what I said to Jack this morning. Wow, it's real rain, because we can get misting sprinkles once the rainy season starts, but yeah. It looks like it was officially rain.
This is the time where things start to get a little green around here, and the golden changes a little bit, so that's pretty cool. But now it looks like the sun is trying to break through. Okay, also I wanted to mention to keep the feedback coming to info at empower11.com. And we had a little trouble with our email but that should be all cleared up today, and your email should be getting through loud and clear. So we'd love to hear from you. Give us some feedback on our shows, something that you maybe took and ran with, or give us an idea for a show that you would like.
Or questions that you have.
Yeah, so we'd be happy to answer your questions. And also, if we use one of your comments on our radio show, we just might send you something cool, like our new Empower 11 Wealth CD that is out on Amazon and iTunes. You can download it on iTunes. And also, I wanted to mention that you can get this Spreaker app on your iPhone that will allow you to listen to us live or our archive shows and
on demand.
Yeah, so you can just download this free Spreaker app on your iPhone or your Android phone and take advantage of that. But also, you can catch up with us on iTunes, because after we are done recording or done doing our live show, it's recorded and then uploaded to iTunes. And now, even on YouTube, you can listen to our shows actually on YouTube. And we have a YouTube channel with some videos, and you can listen to our shows. Just go to YouTube and type in Empower 11, and you will
Empower
find us.
11 Now.
Yeah,
that's the name of our channel.
Name of our channel, yeah. But all you have to do is search Empower 11, and you'll find us. So today, we're going over what the topic was for our show this week, and giving it some discussion and stuff. And often what we do is we mind map is what we do. We actually do. It's like kind of like we use an iPad app for it, but you can use this technique at home too. You write what the core or the topic is in your life, and in the middle of a paper, put a circle around that, and then you just kind of draw lines off of that and let the lines separate and transform. I mean, am I doing a very good job of
Yeah,
describing a mind map?
you take a core idea, a question that you have, something you'd like to explore more, you'd like more inspiration or creativity to come from. You take this core idea, you put a circle around it, and then you draw off of it just like arches of lines, and then you connect it to another idea, which you'd circle, and then you connect off of that things that are connected to that. So in the center spoke, you could have many spokes coming off of this center idea as they spur and grow. And what's interesting about mind mapping is that it actually looks like how the mind maps its ideas, its synapses, and its actual dendrite patterns, which is how the brain is wired. So the brain likes it, and it actually excites it, and it causes it to go along with you and to give you ideas and to spur creativity. Versus like a lot of times when we want to come up with ideas, we can write lists or we can write outlines. And when it's too linear like that, the brain doesn't get the same feedback to like go along with it. So
we like to mind map out these things, and usually we kind of like start off with our core idea, and then we kind of do these three main spokes off of it, which is like what it is, why it's important, in really understanding the why of the implications of what this topic could mean in your life. And then some how, so how-tos, because I really feel that that's an important part of our shows, is that we don't just talk about problems and rehash problems and say the problem with this and all that. We actually, we are in the solutions business, and we like to talk about, things that can give you real tips, real tools on how to empower yourself. So this time when we were doing the mind mapping, there was a lot to this, and I really didn't think that this topic was going to be, it was kind of, the way we mapped it was kind of out of the norm. We didn't do it in our normal way. We just started throwing out ideas and things, and it really, started, for me stepping back and taking a look at myself, and that how this topic still plays a pattern in my life today.
And the topic is, drum roll please, it is, Jack Voorhees, what is it?
Forgive and give yourself a life on 11. It's about the power of forgiveness, and that can mean a lot of different things. There's some people could say, well, hey, you're asking for forgiveness, or you're giving forgiveness, or you're in the act of forgiveness and forgiving yourself. Yourself is someone also that should be kind of on that list to forgive.
Yeah, I know when we were discussing doing this topic, I really wanted to come about like, what's the empowered 11 kind of stance? And that truth is that we cannot live a life on 11. Where we really turn it up to who we are on the inside becomes a match to the life we want to live on the outside. And that is the symbol of the Empower 11. It's where it's not 1 + 1 = 2, but 1 + 1 has exponential energy that it turns up to 11. Now, 11 has a lot of significance. In one that I can think of that relates to this topic is that for a rocket to lift off, it has to go 11 kilometers per second. And it can defy gravity. Now, what is gravity? Gravity is that resistance that holds something back. And so to turn our life up to 11, to get liftoff, where we can defy the resistance that is, and where is resistance created, which forgiveness is a big part of this pattern that lifts resistance in our lives. And resistance is the weight of experiences that have created energetic patterns that has created the life that we're living today. And it's built upon this pattern of energetic resistance of where we're at. And how can we start to get ourselves having liftoff? where we actually defy that resistance that's based on our common thoughts, behaviors, and actions and attitudes that have accumulatively created where we are today. And we can't remove that resistance or lift that resistance unless we really take an honest look at forgiveness.
For me, in the kind of aha or the kind of thing that struck me about forgiveness in my own life is that there's this place where I feel that I've forgiven and I've moved on, but then if say I forgive somebody for something and then I see that show up again, it's like it brings in a lot of the stuff from the past. I mean, it will all of a sudden just like, boom, it's all there again. Stuff that I thought that I let go of. And I'm not somebody that carries around a lot of resentments or things. I mean, I really think that resentments, rob us of today, and resentments and this lack of forgiveness. I mean, it's a lot about holding on to the past. And I'm a big advocate of not holding on to the past. That the past just robs us of today, and that every day we wake up, it's a fresh new day, open to all new possibilities. As long as we're not dragging yesterday into our todays, I mean, we can really accelerate this life on 11.
Well, I have two things I want to say in regards to what you said, Jack. I know you do live it, and that is the truth, is that you do live in that really present place that is not of a place of resentments and holding on to the past. And you said something when I was listening to you speak before a group that really struck with me, of how that's a living example of how you really are present and you don't hold on and you do live in a place of forgiveness. And then you were talking to this group and you were telling them about, we all have different situations or stories or things from our childhood. I mean, we have these certain anchored stories even that we can say where that was really not cool, or that was not,
best. I didn't have a big wheel. I never got a big wheel when I was a kid. Just saying. Okay.
Did you get a green machine? That's what I want to know.
No, I didn't get a green machine either. No.
Well, one of the things that Jack was saying is that if he held on to those places from growing up, he wouldn't be in a relationship with his mom the way it is today, and he'd miss out on this beautiful person because she's not the same person. And it's not even that who she was then is even there's anything wrong. It's just that our parents were going through their own evolution. And I know for me, I had a great childhood growing up. I have my different things that I could hold on to or try to use as excuses or resentments, but that wouldn't serve anything. And I know I commend you, Jack, because I know that you live that. And when you were telling that to this group, when you were speaking at this event, and you were saying, think of all the beauty that we can miss out on and the joy in our lives with even experiencing people with who they are today, because we're holding on to situations or events that were years earlier that's not even who that person is anymore. And we'd be missing out on an awesome relationship.
Yeah, I'm not the person I was 5-10 years ago, so how can I expect others to be the same person they were 5-10 years ago? And how can I hold something against this different person that was there 5-10 years ago? Now in front of you, you have a new person, a new, fresh person. And, holding on to these resentments, I mean, they are very damaging. They're, I don't know who said that it's like cancer to the soul. And
what it is it spreads to the other areas of your life. You think you have this unforgiveness or this resentment towards a person, but that's how it is cancer of the soul, is because it does spread. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just sit in this one area festering.
And understand that people are human. I mean, who among us has not made a mistake? Not like kind of wish they kind of took that back. I mean, there's just the other day, I was getting really kind of flustered with the kids, and it just came out of me, shut up. And I don't like to talk like that. I mean, that's not like me or who I am, and I wish I could take it back, but I can't, and it's just, people are human, and everybody you know is going to kind of let you down in some way, form, because they're just human. And I think it has a lot to do with these expectations that we set on people. Is like, just expect people to be human.
Yeah, I mean, it's the human condition that can it can let us down, but it's also our spiritual awareness, that core that connects us to each other, to our world, is what can lift us out of that. And the second part I wanted to talk about, Jack, when you were saying is forgiveness actually begins to accelerate our law of attraction. And if we do not forgive, that resistance of pattern becomes a barrier that does not allow us to accelerate our own law of attraction. So that's that part when you talk about cancer to the soul. It does bleed into other areas of our lives. It does affect all the other areas of our lives. And that the more, I'm doing this small, intimate, wealth building, soulful workshop with this small group of women. And some of the steps that we've been doing has to do with forgiveness in this most recent area that we went through. And I was really amazed at how something inside of me is getting so much lighter. And like you, Jack, I do feel I have put in that conscious awareness to forgiving and letting go and not holding on to resentments. And I know for me, I was married for 18 years, and my former husband, he just completely stepped out of our lives in a way that that he's not there for the children or even any kind of child support or anything. And for me, I have really come to the awareness recently that I really forgive, because what I was telling Jack the other day is that if I hold on and I see him as he's showing up in a way that is, or lack of showing up, or whatever it is, whatever expectation I've had, and I see it as something being off or wrong, it negates my life today. It negates my children. It negates everything that's brought me to this perfect place where I do have this wonderful, enduring relationship. And that was all part of the journey of what this special thing I have with you, Jack, with these wonderful children that I have that are healthy, that are thriving. And I was telling Jack, after doing some of this additional work, I am really in this really light place, lighter than I have ever been. And it feels good, because what it means is I am here and now in my life. And I'm in the here and now of life's perfection working itself out in my life. So if something I feel was wrong in the past, if I say, well, I shouldn't have been run over by a lawnmower when I was 2 years old. If I say, he did this and that did this, and this is why I am in this, configuration that makes my life harder today, because let's say my former relationship with my ex-husband, it's like it negates the perfection of my own journey unfolding to where I am today. And I was telling Jack that I don't want to negate any of my life. I want to embrace it, because I feel that is where we do accelerate what's in our hearts to become empowered at 11, where who we are on the inside really gets in tune to living in that matching rapport outside and possibility in our world.
It's funny when we run into people that haven't seen you in a long time, and they're just meeting me for the first time and what have you. They always seem like, they often mention how relaxed you are now. You seem more relaxed.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's how it's showing up on the outside. Like a really important thing that I think I want to bring up about this resentments and what have you, is that they don't hurt the ones that you're resentful towards. And it's like sometimes we feel like we need to punish somebody. So we're going to hold this resentment. But this resentment only harms ourselves. You know, I was talking with CJ, the oldest boy we have living here, and
he's 12.
Yeah, he was talking about like, oh, this kid gets him so mad, and he just wants to do something about it. And I said, it's not up to you to punish them. It's like people, you know, they get it. They whatever.
Karma.
Yeah, or you know, the thing is, they have to live with themselves. It's like this guy's a real, the real ass. Okay, so he's a real ass. So now he's always going to be an ass. How do you think being an ass is going to hurt him in life? You know, it's not up for you to punish him because he's an ass. He will be punished. I mean, he will not get all the rewards. I mean, you cannot be an ass and get all the rewards that life has out there.
Oh my God. We had this conversation at dinner last night, and the kids loved it because they got to just talk about, well, yeah, if you're an ass, then you're going to attract more assholes. And it was great. I mean, it was great in the sense that they were feeling like they were really being able to express themselves, and it was free reign to do this, you know.
I can use the ass word. So... You know, and then the other thing about this is sometimes okay, here's the interesting thing. So when I do this mind map on my iPad here, it does this automatic spell correction and stuff. And we all know how spell check the automatic spell correction can make some funny text messages and things like that. So right here it says it doesn't hurt the ones we have the resentment towards. Like Ford vehicles instead of towards. And then that brings me up to, like, you know, I've had a couple of Fords in my life.
Ford vehicles.
Yes. And the first one was a lemon. I mean, it was like, you know, and it was a crap truck. I mean, everything was just falling apart. Paint was falling off of it, and so I mean, it was just crazy. And you know, so I was like, you know, at the time I was young, and I was like, I'm never getting a Ford again, you know. But then later they started making good Ford vehicles. They started making better Ford vehicles, and I went and I got one. I could have said, you know, no, I said that I was never going to get a Ford, and therefore I'm never going to get a Ford, so I'd miss out, and I'd get, like, you know, when, you know, Ford had a better SUV, and I get you know, I could have got a GMC, which might not have been is nice or a better deal than the Ford. Or I might have passed up a steal of a deal on a Ford just because I had this resentment towards Ford. So that's just kind of one example of how these resentments they rob us, and they don't affect other people. They're towards us. Now I want to mention, like, some people set themselves up to have resentments in advance. And this is like just the craziest thing. And it's all about having expectations. So they'll do things to set up expectations. I'm going to do this, so this person should react this way because I did this. And then, and if they don't, then I can punish them. I will hold a resentment and I will punish them. And it's just such a transactional kind of thing. And we've talked about this in relationships, is like, you know, do not have your relationship be transactional. It's not an empowered place to be. But I don't want to get off track of the resentments. But there is a role here in this resentment category.
Well, I want to just give a little reminder, like, what is resentments? I mean, resentments, when you start to just break down the word, it's we resend. It's a resent back into our memory. We're resending back into our memory this story that then we call forward to bring into the now, and we hold that energy in that space, and that is the resistance. So you can actually begin to get more awareness just on how much resentments can become this automatic pilot, so to say, with our energy and our thoughts, because resentments are really just a resending of the same story back in time, bringing it forth, back in time, bringing it forth, back in time. So we can reorder how we're processing ourselves.
Yeah, true. I've also seen that people hold on to these resentments because they feel that it empowers themselves. Like it feels that they have justification of the way that they are living or what have you, because of this resentment they have from the past. It's because such and such happened to me, or you did this to me, that I'm in this place, and therefore I can justify that I'm in this place, instead of taking ownership of my own, where I am in my life. All belongs to me.
Then that comes into acceptance, where, if you could understand that resentments are just a resending something from the past, bringing it back forward, and you can get into this place of, okay, if I don't keep that loop going and I begin to pull it in closer and sit in the truth of accepting what is today, and yes, it did happen. Now, we've been talking about, we haven't said specifically, but the truth is that truly terrible, horrible things have happened to some people that they do feel justified with not forgiving, with holding on to resentments, and that were unfair. Mm-hmm. And if we can accept the terms of life, that sometimes life does feel like it is unfair because it's in a constant state of changing. I mean, I know growing up, for me, getting run over by a lawnmower with my leg at the age of 2, it felt unfair. That why did this happen to me, when I would see other children, and especially, I had this really athletic body that I couldn't utilize my body the same way that I was wired to, is what I felt inside of me. But this idea that it being unfair, I don't mean it in a way to justify, but it's accepting that this is life. And I remember when my dad said to me, when I was going through my divorce and I had all this craziness that was going on, financial chaos, the whole mix up with my house. And then at that same time when our dog had died that, my children grew up with and that they loved, and it felt like, his name was Rocky, and it felt like the rock had broken, and it had felt like it had broken in my life. And I remember my dad calling me and saying, and don't think life is picking on you. This is life. And I'm saying this in the sense that, we're talking about forgiveness today, and we can talk about it in the most, daily ways of how we have, well, this person did that or whatever. But then there are truly events that have happened that are horrific, that are hard to accept, in the sense that this is happened and it does seem unfair, but that is life. And I'm not negating anybody's pain of where they're at today. If something, that feels extremely painful has happened to them, but the only way out of that and to get to our own keys of happiness is accepting that it did happen.
Yeah, and also there's ways of turning around like these things into you can actually shift to something that may have seemed like a negative into a positive. So if you look at like somebody like Richard Branson, he's dyslexic, okay, but he shifted, he used what might have seemed a negative. He might go through life, why did I have to be dyslexic? This life's unfair and all this stuff. But then he used it to develop other senses, because if you're blind, you can your sense of smell is heightened, your sense of touch is heightened, your hearing is heightened, and there's gifts in everything, and it may be really hard to feel that way. I mean, I know that people hold this stuff. I know that, my father drowned, okay? So, I could say, hey, life is unfair and life, all this. I could hold on to that, but I mean, it's just life. That's just something that happened. I mean, and I don't, I don't hold on to that, but I know there's many that do, and they hold on to this thing like it's a badge of honor. I really have a feeling that I really have the strong sense that, if our loved ones were looking down at us, they'd say, "Hey, just keep going, live your life, man. It's no big deal because we've just moved on. We've just moved on. We've just transformed into something else. So don't mourn us. Don't But I know that many feel that they need to, that they really need to hold on to this, and I think that part of it is that their identity is tied up in that. That if I keep bringing up CJ, but CJ was getting a little teary-eyed the other day thinking about his old house and how he was forgetting. But
he said, "I'm not crying sad tears. I am." He said they're not sad, but it's that it was this feeling that he's forgetting about his old house. And what's crazy is that he grew up a good portion of his years in that house, the majority of his life. I mean, our recent move that we had over where we're at now, we've only been here a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think it's that he has a bit of his identity tied up in his memories. And if he loses some of these memories, he loses part of himself. And that's not the actual truth of what it is. I mean, who you are is who you are today, and it's not based on the memories that you have of the past. I mean, who you are is based on who you are today, and all you can have from the past that benefits you is the tools and the things that you've learned about your experiences and your joys and things like that. Everything can be a tool, but acceptance, I believe, is the key to happiness. And I've always said that, if you can learn to be happy with whatever your life circumstances are today in this moment, then you're not reliant on just the winds of life and life is this can be this roller coaster. And sometimes there's huge highs and huge lows, and sometimes it's just kind of going along, kind of ups and downs. But if I'm only happy when life has fed me like all kinds of we got this windfall check today, and so now I'm happy because of that. If that is what determines my happiness, then a lot of the times I'm going to be unhappy. But if I get in the driver's seat and I practice this acceptance and gratitude for where I am today and how my life is, and it's not determined on outside circumstances, then that's a truly enlightened place to be. It's a place that will fill in. It's soulful.
Well, acceptance is a place of surrender. And if you break down the word forgive, I mean, it's got really powerful parallel meanings. Forgive means forgive. And that is, you forgive, you give up whatever this is to what is, which is what acceptance is. And forgive means you also forgive it to something much higher and greater and universal in its balancing restorative powers of the universe. And that is how life will recalibrate it, because you don't have to hold on to it anymore. You can forgive it to something much bigger.
And you can't forgive unless you can forgive yourself. I mean, you always have to have it. I mean, if you are going to be able to give great love, then in the purest form, then you really need to be able to love yourself and to love your life. Those that can't give it. You can't give it if you don't have it. And the thing is, the forgiveness, I mean, it really needs to start from within, as most things do. It's starting from the core of who you are, and then you give it out.
Yeah, so forgiveness really runs like a mirror. The more we can forgive ourselves, the more we can forgive others. The more loving and kind that we can be to ourselves, the more we can extend that same thing to others. So if we can forgive ourselves, then we'll have an easier time forgiving others.
Yeah, it's important to be good to ourselves. It's so easy. When we're better for ourselves, we're better for other people around us. And it's
Well, I want to talk about how you have something you want to say?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to talk about how that what blocks us from forgiving is we get to something about what is in this feeling of whatever has happened that makes us feel uncomfortable. We don't like it. Could be pain. It could be this feeling of unfairness, unjust, betrayal, whatever it is that makes us uncomfortable, uneasy with what has happened. Where we have a hard time forgiving is because we can't accept those feelings that we feel about these events. So then what we do is we deflect. And what we do, we push out it towards somebody else, why I feel this way. Mm-hmm. And if we can begin to accept what is, we can actually accept our feelings. We can forgive in this place that we even feel this way. And we can actually alchemize and create our own atonement. And we can get into resonance like the tuning fork in Power 11 where we're on our side. We're doing our part. The universe is lining up. The God force, the universal loving presence gets into rapport with us. And we begin to have our own healing so that when we do reflect on these feelings, we don't have to deflect them. We can actually accept the truth of what is.
So we're replacing this deflection with reflection.
Yes. And reflection is that place within us that we can accept what has happened and we can allow God, the universal loving presence, to heal us. Just like the pinging of the tuning fork. All it takes is the ping on one side and it starts to get into vibrational harmony. And if you look at just the nature of life, at the God force, it is a compassionate, forgiving life energy. The guy who has created the most horrific acts, that is locked up in jail, the God force still beats his heart.
That could be really difficult for people. I mean, because I know that many feel empowered by hatred for someone else. I mean, they feel, and this hatred can feel very empowering. Just like in the, when there was the Nazis and stuff, they fueled they empowered themselves with hatred. But it was so misguided, and it will collapse at some point, because it just isn't a godlike way.
Yeah, I read this riveting book from somebody who survived the Rwanda Holocaust, and her family was just slaughtered, murdered in really horrific ways. And when all the dust settled, and she survived, and when all the dust settled, actually there's a book out, can't remember the name of it off the tip of my tongue, but that Hay House had published of her story. And it was riveting. I mean, it was very transformative. And the whole book, the core of it is all about forgiveness. Well, what happened is when all the dust had settled and she was brought in to this jail where the people who had murdered her family, the man was there, and she was allowed to do whatever she wanted to this man. And she forgave him. That was the only energy she offered. And the security people who had brought her in, they're like, "What do you mean? You're just going to tell him he's forgiven? After all that and we worked all this out for you to actually get your chance to make even with him." She was even allowed to kill him, anything she wanted to do, and she forgave him, is what she did. The story was just reading it almost gives you a bath into that cleanliness of forgiving, and how under the most unjust situations that resentments will never serve us, and so her story it's so transforming, because people look at, like, if she can forgive when she has experienced and witnessed such horrific things in her country and her life, then how can I not forgive for such little things in my life? And one of the things that, there's two parts to, like, things that I think we, that can rob us. There's the parts of life that happen that are not fixable. Mm-hmm. And that we have to truly accept what has happened. And they can be really like a real deep reality sense of, wow, this has happened in life. Then there's the things that are totally fixable. And how much energy do we lose on resentments? When we can go forgive that person, we can extend love and compassion to that person. And we have to be honest with ourselves. Like, this is fixable, is to ask that question. We can really begin to get truthfulness in our lives and empower ourselves on 11 by not dissipating our energies on things that are truly fixable.
And then there's this aspect about who are we forgiving? And it's like sometimes we need to ask the question. It's like, are we really forgiving this person, or is it just kind of some kind of message we just started carrying with us? So, who are we? Who are we forgiving? Is it, there's other people? We can forgive others for wrongs they may have done to us, or for wrongs they may have felt they've done to us. There's some people that might felt like they did something wrong because they said something at some point and whatever, and they think you're carrying, they like automatically assume that you are carrying some kind of resentment about it, because that's how they would behave in their own selves. It's like, oh, I did this. Yeah, they probably are upset, and and then there's also about, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, about forgiving ourselves, and I think a lot of people miss this part. There's a very healthy aspect to self-forgiveness. We've all done things. We've all done things wrong. Stuff that
we've all done things in ways that we've learned we can do better. That's really one of my mantras. It's like, I don't need perfect. I just need someone who's willing to do better.
In the 12 steps programs that I'm in, there's this fourth step where you do this inventory, and then there's a fifth step where you share that inventory with somebody you trust. Usually your sponsor, or sometimes you might just find somebody who is. That is will hold what you're saying sacred. And there's all this anxiety about sharing, like, oh, wow, there's this horrible stuff in here that I did when I was, drinking and drugging, and, and then they share with it, and their sponsor's like, that was nothing. What do you mean? Or, or I did that too, that kind of thing. So, it builds up so much in our minds, I think, is an aspect to it. But the also who I want to talk about forgiving is your higher power, or whatever that may be for you. This force that you think. God took away your father, God, let this happen to you, or something like that, and so, forgiveness may be called upon for your higher power.
Yeah, I really believe that when we can get into total rapport with the God force, with the higher power, with trusting, we can find that forgiveness in that relationship. And that's where we can say, I know that everything that's happened, I may not know the reasons. I may not understand it. But this is my life, and it is my journey to alchemize this understanding, which is to make something new of it. Alchemy is when you take something that two different ideas, two different points, and you bring it together and make something new. So, it's okay to be in this place that we may not know why it happened or what it happened for what reasons, but the truth is we're just here to alchemize it, to make something new and good and better on our journey, and trusting the perfection of life because of it.
Yeah, the next point I want to make is about the difference between moving on and moving forward, and like
the difference between that and forgiving, because people move forward a lot, Jack, I think, but they haven't forgiven.
Yeah, like they'll put it aside, but it's still there, just so they can just kind of move on and keep going in life. But they haven't really acknowledged it. They haven't really dealt with it. They haven't really forgiven. So it's still there. It's maybe under the skin. Maybe, it's like, oh, I've moved on from this, but I know that there's still something there that that I need to work on, or just acknowledging that it's there. It can just start some healing process, and I'm a little tongue-tied today, but it can actually start a healing process all on its own.
Well, I love that, because that brings me back to the transformational wheel, which we went over in a previous episode, and that's this whole Empower Flex that we're getting ready to launch, is that when you have awareness and you can acknowledge this areas that you need to have forgiveness, then you can actually go move into acceptance, and then the next part on the wheel, which is the willingness to let it go, the willingness to surrender, the willingness to then, which comes into the next thing, the original knowing, to turn it over to that original source, that original God force, that animating presence, and just following that wheel of transformation. I know that, Jack, that was profound for me, because when we did some exercises, and I was surprised at the things that came up, because I really thought I was over certain areas that came up. And you just said to me, and the awareness alone will begin the healing. Now, it is true that if we can stay in that healing part, instead of resending the same story over and over again, which is what resentments are, is just the resending of that same story over and over again to keep us anchored where we are, that blocks the healing, it blocks the barrier. Just that awareness can stop us and start closing that loop, so that it doesn't keep looping back into this resentment kind of behavior that keeps looping us around.
So then we get into some of these how-tos, the actual some practical tips that we can use, and the part of what it can take to forgive yourself is to decide to no longer live in guilt and shame. That it's like many people do hold on to this guilt and shame like they need to hold on to it because they need to suffer for what they've done.
It works two ways. It works what we do to ourselves and what we do to someone else. Either making them feel guilty, shaming them, because they will not be punished properly.
So I'm on the other side. I'm no longer going to live in guilt and shame, so I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to wear it, and I'm not going to give it away.
Very good. Yeah. I like that, Jack. That's good.
So, then
it makes it easier for us to just relax into who we are, which is interesting that you said a lot of people say that about me, is that you're just much more relaxed. It's like, it's true. When you relax into the truth of who you are, guilt and shame don't live there.
Yeah, and you can really unlock a lot of abundance by just deciding that you're not going to live in guilt and shame. Guilt and shame is not your game, and you're going to move on. You're going to you're just going to declare that is not part of your life. And I made that shift a couple of years ago, and abundance just started booming into my life like thunder and lightning. It just came in like a huge thunderstorm and rained down all kinds of great gifts.
And it still is. You've got your most recent raining of thunderstorms with this big business enterprise you're getting ready to do. I mean, that was a gift of more.
Yeah, and what I like about it is that it's not only a gift for me, but it's a gift for others as well.
Yeah.
And that's,
But I mean, that is abundance. That is, when we get ourselves into that alignment, that is the empowered 11 state where we can really have liftoff in our lives.
So a way that we can use to forgive is we can, because sometimes people that we feel that we may need to forgive may not be around. Or there's just this power in writing it down, because when you write it down, you get it out of the mind. I mean, it's there more in black and white. So your mind can attach all kinds of extra feelings and emotions and stuff to it. But when you write it down, it's in black and white. It's very clear, and then you can burn it.
Yeah, that's why I love the moon rituals, especially on a full moon. That would be a great thing. That's bringing light to that which has been dark or hidden. That's the full moon has a lot of power in taking if you write that down. I want to talk about the power of writing it down when you said getting it out of your mind, because when you just write it with your hand and a pen and paper, it's like the antenna to God, antenna to the universe. It begins to unlock and free up that inside of you because you're tuning in more into this universal loving presence of the world that surrounds us.
So, there's some things about being present that can really help, because, I mean, this forgiveness and resentments and stuff, I mean, that's just, it's based on the past. So when we're in the now, we're living in the now, we're practicing prayer and meditation, we're being present to where we are around us, then that naturally those things don't live there. The past does not live in the future unless we allow it.
Well, I love a great way to begin to even make this prayer or this affirmation or this meditation act is with the Empower H2O program that we have. And I can just give you a quick way to begin is you take a drink of water and pray to be washed. Pray to be washed as you drink this water of any feelings that are not sustaining to you. Pray to be replenished as this water goes in you with forgiveness and light and love and vitality. I mean, you can just, water has it's such a powerful conduit. It can actually accelerate our law of attraction to us because it's such a conduit of energy. That's exactly why if lightning hits water, it can get transmitted to us. So just doing the Empower H2O kind of like vibration with can heal, can create a lot of cleansing.
I know there's a lot of power in that. I mean, a lot of people expressed like how much power they've gotten from that. I mean, and then water is a very powerful substance. I mean, the most powerful substance on earth is water. It's
a very godlike quality.
So staying in this being present, is it's important to stay conscious, I believe, of not getting positional. Not getting offended. The offended part, I mean, that mostly comes from ego. Why would we let others offend us? I mean, it's just stating their opinions, and often, and if their opinions of us we don't believe is true, then if it's not, then why would it upset us? I mean, that's mostly just a kind of an egoic thing.
Well, I think on a really simple level, but it's very powerful on a relationship level and even on an intimate level, Jack. You said this early on, which I found this very liberating, is that you're like, you said, your feelings are your feeling. Why would I get offended or positional about it? And just giving someone to have permission, whoever they are in our lives, to have their position and their feelings, it really opens up the possibility of a relationship being more open and expanding than closed and constricting.
And another thing we practice in our relationship is we don't like tease each other and stuff like that, because that playful kind of banter thing, can turn into, a not pleasant experience, So that, I mean, that's kind of there's a thing we use in our lives, and
Well, he's talking about the playful banter of put-downs and condescending behavior towards each other.
Yeah.
Which some people do that in order to
Yeah,
express love or affection to each other.
Yeah, it starts off as this teasing, playfulness, and then it goes to a place that isn't empowering. I want to mention that I think this is a powerful thing here, is to look beyond others' actions. Look beyond the action itself and look to what is it within this person that caused them to act this way. So if somebody does something that we think like has wronged us, look at what it is about that person that what could have happened to them. Why would they act that way? And sometimes by just kind of understanding who they are and where they're coming from can really give us an understanding and a compassion to what they did and what their actions were.
So all of this that we're talking about with forgiveness, this doesn't mean that we have to forget what someone has done, but we have to forgive the energy that we are holding on to that is toxic to us. We forgive that energy that does not serve us. It doesn't mean we have to forget the circumstances and not learn from the circumstances and not remember what this person did, but we forgive the energy that holds.
You may look at something, when people show you who they are, then you believe them, but this may be somebody I no longer want to do business with, or not empowering for me to have a relationship with, what have you. But it isn't that I'm going to hold on to a resentment. It isn't that I'm going to hold on to some ill feelings about this person. I'm just going to kind of understand this is that person, this is where they're at, and I'm just not going to embrace that into my life.
Which, we're wrapping up on the hour, and we've had a lot to say about this. But it also means when you're going to do that, you're not using freeze outs. I want to talk about people think that they're using freeze outs means that, well, I'm no longer going to do anything with this person, but really still its motivation is out of a place of resentment and punishment back to that person. And when we're talking about forgiveness, it's truly surrendering, and it truly means that if your paths cross again, you are energetically at peace.
Yeah.
And that's the place where atonement truly happens, where you are energetically at peace with this person.
That is important. I know that many people do this cold, icy, freeze out, and that isn't acting in a place of love. We all need to love each other. Regardless of who we are, what we've done, or what have you.
It's not in a place of forgiveness yet. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I want to take everybody on this journey of a meditation. This is a shortened clip out of a meditation that I have actually recorded. Make sure you like us on Facebook and stay tuned to all that we have coming out, because this meditation is going to become available. So wherever you're at right now, whether you're in your office, whether you're driving in your car, whether you're just listening to this at your desk, walking around in your home, I invite you just to allow these words to vibrate down into the essence of your being and open up that space within you to have a more lighter, forgiving heart. On this day, I take ownership for all that was, is, and will be. The beautiful grace of today allows me to be an open channel of my amazing, beautiful, expressing life with fresh, alive, magnificent moments. I am my own best friend. I own it. How do I stay in the ownership of this most enriching relationship I could ever own? I own it and live in the truth of my original knowing. I take ownership of my greatest asset, the place where I know that is important to my heart. I live and thrive in my dreams to come to life. I am the owner. I own the story that keeps playing. It is the story I want to own. I release all those parts of the story that do not match the story I am writing in my life today. I see my open page to what is the blank canvas of my life. I write down all the key words that do not belong to the story I will own today. I take a few minutes and I allow these words and these images to be released from me. I can see this page filled with thoughts, memories, experiences that do not belong to me anymore. I become unattached to their power. I rip out this page and I begin tearing up the pages into tiny pieces. And as I tear this page into pieces, I open my hands and allow them to be blown away in the wind and out of my mind. They are no longer a part of what defines my story today. I become my own active author of my life that I am writing that is authentic to me. I tune into the story that has the original knowing of the voice deep within that guides me and what is important to my heart, the life deep inside. No matter what storms come into the patterns of my life, my treasure chest, my heart center is held secure and private in the full truth of the original knowing I take ownership of, my treasures. I am the owner and the caretaker of this treasure chest of love and inspiration. My heart center. I heal all areas of my heart center with the gifts of my original knowing of who I am and what I came here to do. I own it. It belongs to no one else. It's mine to share. I give of my riches, of who I am, and to all I encircle in my life. My life takes on rich texture. I own it. My treasure chest is full of much to give and share. I own it and I know it. Namaste.
Wow, that was a beautiful read, Anne. Thank you for sharing that.
And we hope to hear from you as you take out time out of your busy day to listen to and be a part of this radio show with us. We appreciate you. We have a great show next week where we're going to talk about busting through. And it came from this prophet dream that Jack had. So,
yeah, I had this pretty
powerful.
Yeah, it was a very realistic dream, and it spurred a discussion that Ann and I had, and we started mind mapping, and there's real power in it, and I think that we can share this power in it. If you're looking to have a real breakthrough, like summon a lot of power to bust through something in your life, I think that next week's show is for you.
Yeah, so have a great week.
And we will see you on the radio next week. Be sure and check us out on power11.com and Facebook and all that good stuff. We will see you next week.